Welcome again to What Nobody Told Me After 65. Today I want to talk to you about housing. Very, very important that we recognize housing is at a premium, not just for seniors, but for everybody. There are 4 problems that we need to address when we begin to look at senior housing. First, there's an enormous unmet need. At least 2.2 million older Americans who have very low income and they're in the rental household. They have the worst case housing needs. There's no other explanation. 10 million households headed by somebody who's 65 or over are cost burdened, meaning they're paying more than a third of their income for rent or housing. 3/4 of renters earning under $15,000 a year are cost burdened. They can't afford to pay rent. So, what do they do to compensate? They cut back on food, health care, child care. They cut back on essential things that they really need in order to have a roof over their head. Something is not right with this picture. I've said that before. I was in the housing business for 20 years, and it's not getting better. Renters are often, at least senior renters, are often on fixed incomes. They are at risk of the rising housing costs because they don't have any more money. They're not going to get any more money. People who are working can at least improve their lot by getting a better paying job, another job, having roommates. That's not the case with seniors. They're on a fixed income, that's it. Affordability challenges are disproportionately felt by older people of color. Latinos, blacks, disproportionately felt. And that's because there are disparities in access to higher paying jobs, which means when you do retire, you don't retire with a great pension. Also, there are gaps across the color line in home ownership. A lot of Latinos and African Americans do not own their homes. This is not something that's going to be fixed overnight. This is not something that's going to be fixed in 5 years. The long-term effects of not having done anything, now you've got to scramble to do everything to try to help alleviate some of the stressors in renting, in having decent, safe, and sanitary housing over your head. The second thing is very little of the nation, that's United States of America, very little of the nation's housing stock offers even the basic needs for accessibility, meaning they're either so old that you can't adapt them for a wheelchair ramp, or you can't adapt it to put in a wider door that would allow for wheelchair accessibility into the unit, let alone getting up the ramp to get to the door. Now you got to get inside. Single floor living. We don't have much of that. Most of the units in stock are second and third story houses. Older people need to have things all on one level. If you don't have it on one level, perhaps you can put in an elevator. And we know that's not happening. Modifications that need to be made to units in the old housing stock, it is cost prohibitive. Most of the time it's just easier to tear it down and start all over again. But we're in a crunch right now. We need the units. And so older people are taking on units that have issues from the gate because they need it. They need a place to live. Thirdly, need for assistance and services that support older adults has increased significantly. Baby boomers are now seniors. I'm a baby boomer. They're now seniors. We're living longer. We're living longer with medical issues. And so the support services are not always adequate. We have a disproportionate amount of workers, people who are working in the service industry, compared to the number of people who need the services. I'm going to get the statistics for you. We're living well into our 70s, 80s, and 90s. But the services are not keeping up with that. And the fourth issue, research shows that many older adults live in places that lack livability features, such as neighborhood services, transportation, safe streets, and opportunities to engage with other seniors. Again, they're living where their dollars will take them, and that's not very far. This is a crisis, and right now, nobody's paying attention. We can address these challenges with comprehensive and coordinated policies, again, legislation, to build, preserve, and retrofit affordable housing. Help owners and landlords with accessibility modifications. Put some money out there. And connect housing with services and transportation. I'm here in South Carolina again, and not a lot of public transportation. I haven't looked into it because I don't take it. But like in the north, I mean, you could see a bus. You could see a bus schedule. You could see, not here. Every now and then I see a bus. I know they have a public transportation system, but it is not utilized to its greatest degree, I don't think. So the need is great, but guess what? It's only going to become even greater. Look around you. Here in the South, they're building 55 plus communities like lightning. But that's for active people. This is not for people who have issues. We lost several people in my building this week. This is not a senior living or assisted living facility. However, if you have the means and the income to live in a very beautiful, all the nice amenities, you have the means and the income to live in a beautiful place, such as where I live, as opposed to being in an isolated senior housing, assisted living facility where you're treated like a hospital patient, what would you do? So they're moving in these places. They're not equipped for them. They're not set up for them. and then they are falling or whatever may happen, and there's nothing to help them because this is not assisted living. You move in here pretty much at your own risk, and you're expected to get services or help, whatever you may need, you're expected to bring that in. Well, I hope this information has been helpful. You can't fix this situation overnight, and I'm not going to be able to address every issue in one podcast. So I'll do another one. But if you find this information is helpful, please comment. Let's have a discussion. This is something that needs to be handled, something that needs to be looked at. And collectively, we can look at it. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe. And remember, you don't know what you don't know.